spy isn't as glamorous as I thought. But it isn't dull.
Hello there.
Hey, everyone.
Welcome to another episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder, or at least the ghost thereof.
Yes, send some positive vibes DB's way. He's been a little under the weather.
It's weird. I keep turning up negative on COVID tests. I have no fever yet. Not feeling great. So hopefully it's just overwork or something.
Yeah. And hello, Ninjato.
Hey, Ninja.
So if you're new to the show, welcome, first of all. And of course, hit the subscribe button, like button, notifications, all that good stuff.
Like the smash button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, give Daniel an e-foot rub.
Well, maybe I have the last one. but yeah, so we start every show with our thing of the week, and then we move on to the topics. And so if my introduction was a hint at my thing of the week, here it is. Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I finally got around to watching Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney Plus.
Braver man than I.
Yes, and I wanted to wait until all the episodes dropped before I watched it. It's my impressions of it are that it's not as bad as a lot of people are making it out to be, but it is still not a very good show. Why?
Well, it occurs to me there's two levels you could discuss this on. Like, if you just take it in isolation, how is it as an actual show? If you had assuming you had no expectations of what an Obi-Wan was or what a Star Wars was. Okay,
so taking it on its own, it has a lot of problems. There are a lot of leaps in logic that happen. There are quite a few character issues, and a lot of the technical aspects of it were driving me crazy. So if you watch Book of Boba Fett, which I don't know how many people watch Book of Boba Fett, but one of the things I hated about that show were all the the dark scenes, like the scenes at night, especially when they were out in the desert, were so dark you couldn't see anything. Like you had to, I had to turn off every light in my room to see what was going on. And the same thing was
these streaming shows are effing that up these days. I hear that the last battle scene in Game of Thrones that they shot, it's like $100 million or $10 million just to shoot this one scene, and it was just dark and you couldn't see anything.
Yeah, I don't know why they're doing that. It's probably hiding some flaws. I don't know, but it's but they did the same thing with Obi-Wan. They had all these dark scenes in there that you could barely see anything. And I know they're trying to make it moody and atmospheric, maybe, but it's hard to watch a TV show when you can't see what's going on.
You have to use your imagination.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of imagination you have to use with this show. It's just so the main. If you don't know the story by now or what happens,
spoiler alert.
Spoiler, yeah. If you Although the entire time I was watching the show, I was messaging DB like, "Oh, this happened and this happened." Like, oh, jeez. Leia, Princess Leia gets kidnapped. 10-year-old Princess Leia and Bail Organa and his wife. I don't remember her name. Not important. They contact Obi-Wan and tell him what's going on and ask him for his help, but he's like, I can't go. I have to watch out for Luke.
She was your problem. We that was the custody agreement. I got Luke, you got Leia.
Yeah. We made a deal here, you know. But yeah, yes, and in the entirety of the show, there's only one scene in there where he is actually watching over Luke. So then Organa just tracks him down on Tatooine and says, well, you know, he's like, you still need to go do this. And of course, Obi-Wan's like, they definitely did like a Jake Skywalker with him, where he's like, I'm not the man that I used to be, and the time of the Jedi is over.
It reminds me of this clip that they keep playing on Midnight's Edge, where it's like, what if you did the same thing in The Karate Kid?
Oh, yeah.
You have to teach me karate, Mr. Miyagi. I no longer believe in karate. Leave me alone. I want to die.
Written and directed by Rian Johnson. Yeah. It's and of course when he says the Jedi are over, that's when there's this young Jedi who tracks him down and asks him for help, and Obi-Wan just turns him away and says, go bury your lightsaber in the desert and live a normal life. But of course, said young Jedi ends up getting killed anyway by the Inquisitors, that's another part of the show.
Do they do the stupid helicopter maneuver I've seen from Rebels?
Yeah, they have the well, I don't know about the helicopter thing, but they had the lightsabers that would spin.
Yeah, there were clips I saw where they were actually using the helicopter, the blades twisting to fly around.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Yeah, but
Filoni is not the savior of Star Wars everyone likes to pretend he is.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So Obi-Wan abandons his duties to look after Luke to go rescue Leia, and it turns out the whole thing was just a setup to lure Obi-Wan out so that the third sister, Reva, can capture him or kill him or whatever for Vader. And so it just, and then that's the whole now there's one thing like a lot of people have gotten mad about, and I don't necessarily think they need to be mad about it. And it is that Obi-Wan didn't know that Anakin / Vader was still alive. I don't necessarily see that as an error, because because if you watch the show, Obi-Wan's been living a very mundane life, working at a butcher shop, and just doing that, and then going back into his little cave. Like it just. So it's probably not a stretch for him to think that or not know that Vader was still alive.
So here's a question for you. It's been a while since I watched episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
Were the words Darth Vader ever uttered around Obi-Wan in that movie?
Yes. When he was watching the recording of him at the temple, there's another little recording in there where the Emperor calls him Darth Vader. Okay.
So I was thinking, well, that if he just didn't realize that this guy was Anakin. So yeah, I would call that a stretch, but not completely impossible.
Yeah. But yeah, the entire time, Obi-Wan is shown as being very incompetent, and just kind of fumbling his way through, at least for the first half of the show. He really doesn't get his mojo back until the last episode. But we were talking about this before, that the whole situation where Vader finds out that Obi-Wan is still alive, and then they face off against each other. It was just like, okay, we really didn't know. It wasn't. It's kind of implied that that Obi-Wan and Vader never crossed paths in the intervening years between Episode 3 and Episode 4.
Right. That's like the way most people interpreted that. The last time we met, I was a student and you were the master, and like that's what would make the most sense.
Yes. But apparently, they decided to do a little retcon there, and now they did see each other, and I messaged you when the part came up when they face off against each other, and then Obi-Wan just runs away.
Yeah, because it's like in that one Metal Gear Solid game. If you accidentally kill a character that you shouldn't, you created a time paradox.
Yeah. One kind of mild little criticism, and I think I know why they didn't do it, but there were so many opportunities for callback lines from Vader in the scenes with Obi-Wan. Your power's a weak, old man. Or in their final fight when Vader opens the ground up and Obi-Wan falls in and Vader's looking down at him. I was just waiting for him to say, "Now I have the high ground."
I mean, that's what everybody would want.
Yes, but that didn't happen. He just starts throwing rocks at him.
That might be the greatest missed opportunity since when they had in Wreck-It Ralph, Sonic the Hedgehog explaining why it was bad if you died outside of your game. But if you die outside of your own game, you'll be deleted. And they didn't finish that up with, and that's no good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a missed opportunity there. The other thing too I wanted to bring up was with Reva. So they're doing with Reva what they're also doing with the Scarlet Witch, where she's just this horrible, evil character, and then she does one redeeming thing, and now all of a sudden she's really good, and we should all just kind of forget the fact that she'd been going around slaughtering Jedi for the last 10 years.
Yeah, I've heard multiple people from multiple perspectives, including Comics Perch, make that observation. The thing about a redemption story is that the character has to actually balance out the scales a bit.
Yeah, and they really didn't do that with this character. They haven't really done that with this character, and it's so again, spoilers. You find out that Reva was actually a youngling at the temple during the purge. And that's and she comes across Anakin during that whole thing, and that's how she knows that Anakin is Vader. And her whole becoming joining the dark side and becoming an Inquisitor was part of her grand plan to kill Vader.
This is the problem with the prequel story in general. But that is such an uninteresting plot line to take because she's inevitably going to fail.
Yes. Yeah. What? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the head of the Spanish Inquisition tortured my grandfather, so therefore I will join the Spanish Inquisition and torture the Moors and Jews in Spain. And thus, I'll get a chance to get close to the head of the Spanish Inquisition.
Yes. Yeah, that's basically what this was, yeah. And hey, D Rhino.
Hey. But overall, Because I think that we're putting more time into thinking through the
Yeah,
show than the writers did.
I think so too. Yeah. Okay, so to wrap it up, I wouldn't recommend watching it. It's not very good. It's definitely a lot of not, like I said, not as bad as everyone was making it out to be, but certainly far from a really great show. It's not The Mandalorian. It's not anything. Yeah. Couldn't you just get a Mandalorian sniper? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like they succumbed to the temptation to put Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor on the screen together again without necessarily thinking through the logical consequences of it.
Yeah, and speaking of Hayden Christensen, that CGI de-aging they did on him was awful.
Ugh.
Yeah, but yeah, okay, moving on.
Yep. Speaking of projects that were delayed many years, like Obi-Wan was back when it was a movie.
Yes.
Also, I should mention that it seems like every Star Wars TV show started life as a movie back when they were doing a Star Wars story, things like Rogue One and Han Solo or Solo.
Yeah.
And they padded it out to turn it into a Disney Plus show.
Yeah, because Solo lost money.
Yep. My thing is, so one of the advantages of being a little bit ill today was that I had some time at home and I was able to play the new Cuphead expansion. So I had not really, it had not really sunk in how long this had been in the works, because the original Cuphead came out in 2017. I think they were originally teasing this in 2019, and it just came out. Now you might go, wait, how the heck did that happen? Well, the thing about so for those who haven't played Cuphead, Cuphead is an old school, hard as nails platformer. What its main focus is on, it's a series of what do you call it? Boss battles, basically. Like it's not like, say, Mega Man, where you typically have to go through a level to get there. It's like you go up and the challenge is, can you beat the boss, and then can you S rank the boss or A+ rank the boss by not taking any hits and using the powers the right number of times and so on. But it has you mentioned before, I've never played it, but it sounds like something I would rip my hair out to.
Yeah.
That is a common response. And this game is kind of infamous for a particular game journalist not being able to get past I think taking 40 minutes to get through the tutorial, something nuts like that.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Which, like, if you can't get through that, then boy, there's mechanics in the game that take a little bit to do. And I honestly use some items that you can get in the game to make some of the techniques a little bit easier. So I'm not hardcore, though I did beat the original game. So far I've played 3 of these. Actually, I played 4 of the spinoff levels. 2 I've beaten. One was a weird challenge of a particular mechanic that I see how to do it, but I haven't done it yet. And then the fourth is this level. It's like, oh, F off. Where it literally, like, you're going through this level where it's like the idea is that you're fighting these dogs who have fighter planes. It's like the first 2 stages are pretty straightforward. In fact, the second stage might be one of the easier ones in a Cuphead game. And then suddenly you hit this, like, okay, so now that they're laser shooting at me, and the screen suddenly goes, whoop. And suddenly your up is now left, and you're now having to keep track of that while you're dodging projectiles. It's like, oh no, this is going to take a while.
Yeah,
for me to figure out.
Dean Takahashi.
Yeah.
Takahashi. Thank you.
Now, as part of our effort to bring joy into the world, I've realized that there was a clip that I gave Danielle to share.
Oh yeah.
That demonstrates that apparently this particular VTuber should have gone into game journalism.
Yes, let me pull that up here. Okay, audio sharing, and go full screen. Right.
Why is it on my own? Okay. Man!
The idea is that when you hit A again, you do what's called a parry on anything that's pink on the screen like that. The idea is that you're supposed to do this 3 times in a row to get across the gap.
Mukha yung Anjing susah banget setengah mati.
Yes.
Bruh.
Ya. Please. Ulang lagi dari awal. The music is helping. Kalau bukan karena musiknya, I swear. Tenang.
If you're wondering, that's Indonesian.
Exit. Lumayan latihan. Dio.
Yeah. So basically, if you watch that sequence and you're not and you don't think that you could do that, I couldn't recommend it. If you like 2D platformers and appreciate a good hard as balls challenge, then I could recommend it. Oh, in case you're wondering why it took so long, part of the unique what this game brings to the table that's unique is that it actually was hand animated using traditional animation cells. So most animation could continue at some level during the pandemic. The exact procedure they were using where they were scanning it, like they were drawing these things with old school paints and animation cells and then scanning it in. Not exactly easy to work from home on that.
No, yeah.
And I will say the game has a beautiful presentation and a wonderful soundtrack. So if nothing else, give that a listen. It's probably the best jazz album I've ever heard.
Oh. Yeah, very good. Like I said before, yeah. If I tried playing this game, I'd probably, I wouldn't have any hair.
Yeah, I'm funny in that it's like playing a MMORPG. What a waste of time. Proceeds to spend 3 hours trying to beat that stupid snowman in the new game.
Yeah.
Oh, more like probably an hour, but still.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that making certain people pull their hair out, it's time for our weekly box office analysis. Where, there's a lot of things to talk about. First off, this weekend, Top Gun Maverick became a $1 billion movie. It is the first $1 billion movie of the year, not counting Spider-Man, because of course that was a leftover from 2021. It's also, and this shocked me, it's Tom Cruise's first $1 billion movie.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard that thrown around a lot. I guess none of the Mission Impossible movies broke the $1 billion barrier.
Yeah, I guess not. Yeah, they did well, but yeah.
Yes, D Rhino, you were correct.
Yes, you called it, D Rhino.
I thought there would be enough people who would just blindly go to a Pixar thing. Like what I honestly thought was it was going to do all right and then fall off a cliff the second weekend.
That's what I thought too. But nope.
So that is a good question, Holy Ninja Toe. How did it compare with Morbius? It is actually outperforming Morbius. We'll pull up the Morbster in just a moment here.
Yes.
So you will notice that if we take a look at it, it is it probably crossed the $100 million in the U.S. mark today. But yeah, it's more than 2 weeks out for a movie that cost $200 million to make.
Yeah.
Now, so to go with, I tend to follow Odin movie blogs rules of thumb as far as how to calculate the break-even point of a movie. So you take the budget, which in this case is $200 million. You add half on again for advertising, which for this movie it may actually be worse than that.
Yes.
And then you assume that the studio gets roughly 60% of what the movie brings in the theaters. And then the quick is to divide by 0.6. So this is a movie that needs to make $500 million to break even. That is not happening.
No.
We are more than 2 weeks out. We're at $160 million. The most generous thing is like, oh, it might double its current money. Great, then it'll only lose $180 million.
Yeah. This is like you, I was a little surprised by it just completely floundering. Yeah.
Also, to answer your question, it is Lightyear has outdone Morbius's entire box office run, including the $300,000
Re-release.
re-release that was a complete flop.
Yeah.
But it will ultimately cost much less money, because if we do the same money for Morbius, 75 million times 1.5, although that's a small enough budget that it might just be more accurate. They probably doubled that.
Yeah.
Because they were treating this like a major movie. Divide by 0.6, 250 million. It is less of a it is less red ink than Lightyear would be.
Yeah. Whew. I wonder. I actually kind of curious now. I wonder what Lightyear's final box office take is going to end up being.
So let's talk. That's actually a good segue to what I was thinking when I was looking at the charts over here on our friends thenumbers.com. So it's an interesting thing. So Sonic actually, like most movies, don't have stupid legs like Maverick, like Top Gun Maverick has.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, where it almost outdid Elvis, the biggest release of this weekend.
Yeah,
it is now like it is just completely, again, like I mentioned before. If you were a box office analyst and you had gone to Paramount and said, "Oh, this is my prediction about how the movie will do," a month out, it's going to be it'll keep swapping between first and second.
Yeah.
Day to day, you would be laughed out because you're being way too optimistic. But but no, it's doing crazy. But like a more fair comparison is like, say, Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog actually underperformed compared to its initial weekend. If you go by this chart, and although I think it will ultimately end up with a bigger box office than Lightyear does. But what also helps is like relative performance. Sonic cost less than half as much as Lightyear to make.
Which that's a little surprising considering that the amount of CG that's in Sonic 2.
It feels like, and I think that this is like a hangover of the previous administration at Disney. Every movie just gets like $200 million. It's like the joke about Netflix. Hello, this is Netflix. You greenlit. How can I help you? It's like the accountants at Disney got drunk and just decided to, and you get 200 million, and you get 200 million, and you get 200 million. Because like you look at their movies from like 2019, 2020, and so on, and it's very, very often like right around that number.
Yeah, they just kind of like, all right, they just blank checked 200 million. There we go.
Right. Now, in a year like 2019, where you had like Aladdin, Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, Star Wars, like you could probably assume that all those movies were going to make $1 billion. This is no longer the environment that we live in.
No. Top Gun is an aberration, and it's an aberration in more ways than one. Like the fact that a movie like that has done so well, and B, it's made $1 billion. Like I thought the days of $1 billion movies were over.
Me too. I think that Spider-Man really kind of proved that it could be done again, and it's like as soon as it proved it could be done again, you stopped hearing about people talking, like blaming that thing that's going around for all these movies underperforming.
Yeah.
Because like if we take a look at let's take a look at some late 2021 movies just for some real comparison's sake. Yeah.
No Faye Valentine spinoff. No.
Oh, we'll talk about Netflix later.
Yeah.
So Shang-Chi, worldwide gross, 432 million. So technically it outperformed Sonic. But because Shang-Chi cost 150 million to make, it'll be less profitable.
Yes.
If we look at the Eternals,
Oof.
Look at the Eternals. Actually, that's a box office performance than I was expecting. Trouble is, it was
Yeah.
also a $200 million movie. So going with our math from before, roughly 100 million in the red.
In the red, yeah.
Now, of course, and also that's interesting. So what I like about the numbers is they'll give you an estimate about DVD and Blu-ray sales. Just going by that, people liked Shang-Chi a lot more than the Eternals.
Well, having seen both movies, Shang-Chi is a little better.
Yes, Shang-Chi is like its biggest problem is it's just kind of forgettable and Marvel formula.
Yes.
But I can't necessarily call it awful or bad or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think we don't. Yeah, here we hear the channel reserve get woke go broke as a explanation for things, or at least it's never the only factor.
Right. Yeah. There are a number of reasons why a movie like such as this will underperform, and honestly, I think this was a movie that nobody asked for.
It's a movie that nobody asked for with an unclear premise, and I think the best. I forget where I heard this, but it stuck with me. That the best line about why did Lightyear underperform? It's like basically no matter what analytical reason you come up with, you're right. It was a contributing factor. What was the movie getting at the center of a firestorm, turning people off? Probably. Was it the fact that it's a spinoff that didn't have the original? Didn't have Tim Allen in it? Yeah. In fact, that was a spinoff that only had one character in an ensemble cast. Yeah, that didn't help either.
Yeah.
The fact that we're dealing with inflation and the audience realizes that this will be on Disney Plus in a couple months. Yeah, that definitely didn't help.
Yeah. Yes, it's many contributing factors led to this movie's demise.
Yep. And I watched a clip earlier where they were comparing a similar scene in the 1999 Buzz Lightyear Star Command made straight to video movie versus a similar scene where basically in both scenes Buzz was explaining why he didn't want a partner. And there was so much more life and camaraderie, good writing in that children's cartoon from the 90s.
Yeah.
I think I showed you that clip. Did you end up watching it?
Oh, I don't think no, I didn't. I forgot to. Sorry.
Basically, let me tell you this. Like, boy, they had a simple joke, which was he doesn't want a partner. And boy, did they just keep hammering that in the least funny and interesting ways possible, just over and over again. Like, and the weird thing is, as people have pointed out, wait. He doesn't want a partner. He prefers work alone. But he has this woman who he trusts implicitly and likes working with. And she doesn't even like die in the in the opening scene or anything like that. Like, which actually seemed to happen to a character in the 2D animated Star Command movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, what's funny is that, of all the things that they could have done, the stupid Lion King 2020 or Aladdin 2019 or whatever, Lion King 2019, whatever that came out, treatment to. That Lightyear of Star Command movie would have actually been a good one to give that treatment.
Yes.
Bring it to, like, that's actually a movie that was probably watched by a few million people, but not a lot of people remember it except for in relation to this movie.
Yeah. It what does he say?
Yeah.
Turns out to be.
Yeah, I never actually watched the movie, but I watched the TV show. He was a recurring villain, and that actually gives some interest because he was Buzz's former partner who went blind.
Yeah.
Plus, you had the classic Star Trek tradition of hot blue women. So
Yeah. They really missed the boat with not adapting that cartoon show, as opposed to just doing whatever this was.
Also, Tim Allen says that he was kicked out early on in the process of this, which, boy, do I not doubt it with what I've heard about Pixar.
Yeah. Zurg is the father.
Depends on the continuity. I don't know if they ever actually said that Zurg was his father in the TV show. Probably because that would be hard to work in.
Yeah. But that was I think they put that in Toy Story 2 just as a parody of Star Wars.
Yeah. But yeah, the other thing is just as like a public service announcement, I saw a few channels that I'm not gonna necessarily call them out because they didn't lie exactly, but they were misleading. You may have seen some channels where they talked about, oh, Buzz Lightyear down 74% week over week, or down 74%. That 74% number is if you look at Friday to Friday, and that is, if you go box office, daily performance. Yeah, so for last Friday, it was down 73%. That's never take the Friday drop from the first to the second weekend seriously, because what they always do is they Thursday night for a movie is always the preview night. So it's like the midnight showings, like the 11 o'clock late nights. They lump these numbers together, but the algorithms that determine the day-to-day comparison are just going Friday to Friday.
Okay.
So it didn't go down 73% on the net. It went down 64%, which is still awful.
That's still bad. Yeah.
Like maybe if you had a huge first opening weekend like Doctor Strange did, you can survive that.
Mm-hmm.
But not when you're already underperforming. Like I think we were saying that you would have to have legs like Maverick to get to profitability.
Yeah. Yeah, and a movie like Maverick, those only come up like every so often where there's just like, oh, it keeps going and going and going. Like back in the 80s with like Ghostbusters, for instance. I mean, that movie was #1, I think, for like 3 months or something. And I think Back to the Future, when it came out, same thing.
Yep. Well, and a recent one was Spider-Man: No Way Home. That had legs for days and kept going and going and going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And here's kind of the funny thing that occurred to me is that I mentioned Luca, Soul, Onward is kind of, oh God. Here's like so I have two thoughts. Don't you hate when you get two thoughts in your head at the same time and they're semi-related, but you have to untangle them?
Yes.
Make your 2 points. The first point is that apparently Lightyear is set to be the worst performing Pixar movie except for Onward, which Onward gets a pass because it was the last major movie release before the lockdowns.
Right.
In fact, let's take a quick look at Onward so right now Lightyear is sitting at 160 million. Onward, yeah, its total gross was 133 million. So, but again, we can't hold that. It's not a fair comparison. It wasn't a great movie. I think it was going to bomb anyway. Mm-hmm. But it was also $200 million. Like seriously.
What's the budget for this? 200 million. Okay.
We need to get some snacks for the office. 200 million.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. Lightyear is on track to be the worst performing non-Onward movie, even unadjusted for inflation.
Ooh.
Yeah, movie tickets are like 50% more expensive than they were a few years back.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's no good.
That's no good indeed. Uh-huh. The other trick that I learned from watching Valiant Renegade, if you want to follow this yourself, if you see a daily performance on the opening weekend where the Tuesday does worse than the Monday, you have problems. Doctor Strange had this pattern and Lightyear had this pattern. Because a lot of movie theaters will do a bonus Tuesday where they'll give you like a discount, because they make the money off the popcorn, so they arrange to have Tuesdays be a cheaper day. So Tuesday is almost always a bigger day for movies than Monday. Mm-hmm. If you see a Tuesday that's smaller than a Monday, that tells you that the word of mouth has gone toxic on it.
Yes, and once that happens, you cannot get that. You can't get that back.
No. So, in light of all this bad news that we've reported on Disney lately, you might go, "Wow, man, I wonder when Bob Chapek gets his walking papers." The answer is 3 years from now.
3 years, yeah.
So, Bob Chapek is sticking around, and that's okay. That's actually kind of interesting. Peacock tops 1 billion in upfront ad revenue, doubling growth.
Mm.
So that's telling you that a lot of people are going for the $5 or free Peacock Plus thing.
Yeah.
Which let me tell you, we got into streaming to get away from ads, just like they originally got into cable to get away from ads. Ads are like death and taxes; they're inevitable.
Yes.
But the board has announced that Bob Chapek is around, and that the decision was unanimous.
And I will be honest, I don't know how I feel about this. Like I mentioned last week, one of the things I still love about Disney are the amusement parks. I don't like what he's doing with the amusement parks.
Yeah, that's something you have since you actually live in Florida and had the pass. You can actually talk about way more intelligently than I can.
Yeah. So before the lockdowns, the system that they had for people going to the park was they had it was called Fast Pass, and you could get you could actually for in one day, like you could have 3 Fast Passes at a time, and for any ride. Well, some parks they were a little more restrictive, but minor restrictions, but nothing too horrible. And it was included with your park admission. And it was also really nice too, because if you had a Disney trip that you were planning out, you could actually plan each day in your vacation months before you went. But with the lockdown and then coming back from the lockdown, Chapek decided to make some changes. And one of those was that he got rid of the Fast Pass and he brought in a new thing called Lightning Lane. And with Lightning Lane, you can only get one ride at a time, and it's $15 per person.
Per ride or per day?
Per day. So if you're a family of 4 and there's a ride you want to go on, you want to do a Lightning Lane of it, and you're going every day, that's $60 a day.
Oof.
Yeah. And it's already expensive enough to go to Disney, to a Disney vacation. You're just adding another expense to it. And the other thing too is having to have a park reservation. Like if you want to go to a park on a given day, you have to actually go into the app on the phone and make a reservation, book a park reservation for whatever day you want to do. And some days you might be able to do it or you might not be able to. It all depends. And so it definitely gets rid of, like for me, who live, like I said, I live within driving distance of Disney World. It takes away that spontaneity of just getting in my car and going to the park. Like I actually have to plan it out. Which
from their perspective, they secretly hate you.
Yes.
Because you're taking up, because like here's the thing, you live locally, you can drive anytime you feel like. I doubt that when you go there you feel compelled to buy a bunch of merchandise or stick around for the overpriced dinners or anything like that.
No, yeah, because you're exactly right, because it's there, it's not going anywhere. So I'm like, well, I'm going to be back another day. So yeah, I don't have to kill myself to do a bunch of stuff or drop a lot of money to.
Meanwhile, like if I was going down there to Disney World, I'm from the opposite side of the country. That's a special occasion for me. So I'm going to probably go to their hotel. I'm going to buy some merch. I'm going to be kind of trapped there. So I'm going to end up buying a bunch of food.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm worth much more than you are. So they are not incentivized to make the local pass holders happy.
Yes. Yeah, that you are correct in that regard. Yes. It's everything all the changes they've been making have been geared towards out of towners.
Yep.
Yeah.
So from a parks perspective, probably going to get more nickel and dimey going forward.
Yes.
Now, from an entertainment perspective, I think that's where we're probably going to see more more positive developments. Because it's like, don't get me wrong, like I don't like most what Disney's been making, but if we are taking like the honest view of it, most of what they've come out with was greenlit and going down the pike before he got there.
True. Yeah.
And a nickel and dime attitude is going to look at $200 million a Pixar movie and go, do you really need $200 million for that?
Yeah.
Or so $200 million, and you're making kind of a niche, muddled, unclear movie.
Mm-hmm.
What's the payoff? Like, what are the odds we're going to make that $200 million back?
Yeah. We'll definitely see some changes there, and hopefully, probably more for the better. If they're going to go the same route that Netflix is going, there might be maybe some positive changes going forward.
Right, and I don't necessarily think that we're going to get like, Kathleen Kennedy tossed out on her rear end, and the Star Wars sequel trilogy decanonized, and they're going to bring back Jim Shooter to run Marvel Comics or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't see anything like that happening.
What we're likely to see is less obnoxious stuff, because the objective at that point is to actually be profitable, and the easiest way to be profitable is to target the biggest possible audience with the most pleasing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I'm looking forward to, is less forced broccoli. It's like, well, you saw me having dinner before. Now it was a big cabbage salad.
Yeah,
and I eat those pretty frequently, like things like that. But if I order a cheeseburger, you're giving me a cheeseburger.
Mm-hmm.
You're not Jake Skywalkering a pile of broccoli between my bun, or between the halves of my bun, and telling me, no, I subverted your expectations.
Yes.
F you, this was my cheat day.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But and it does feel like, and mind you, like, they are being forced to do this.
Mm-hmm.
The stock market has had a bad year, which actually has been all right for me because I'm in a buying mood. So winner.
Yeah.
But and I tend to buy conservative stuff anyway. So keep buying that Coca-Cola, folks. Excuse me.
Sorry.
But like from last summer, Netflix is down from like 700 to what are they at today? Stock 174. That is an absurd loss.
Yes.
Disney is under $100 when they were under $200 at one point. What I think everybody is kind of hitting is realizing, wait a minute, we've been focused on subscription numbers, but the subscription numbers were always a proxy for future profitability once you had a big enough audience so you could charge them whatever you felt like.
Right.
Which is just not happening.
Hmm.
So you're going to see a lot of nickel and diming. Now, I think that for most consumers, it's going to actually be good, because it means there's going to be more stuff like they want,
Mm-hmm.
and less nonsense. Now, one thing that we are not going to get as an audience is something that a lot of people have been asking for, which is more Pirates of the Caribbean movies with Johnny Depp.
Yes. Yeah. So there was a rumor floating around earlier this week that Disney had made him an offer to come back to play Jack Sparrow, and the offer was for $301 million, and that came
for a 3-movie deal.
For 3 movies, yeah, and that came from the fact that when he was testifying in his lawsuit, that he would not go back to playing Jack Sparrow, even if Disney offered him $300 million.
So I think an Australian tabloid site made up 301 million to be cute.
Yes, and but no, those not true. Disney has not asked him to come back, and my guess is barring a major miracle or something really really huge, he's not going to be playing Jack Sparrow again.
Which, honestly, after 5 movies, as much as he loves playing the character, like Pirates of the Caribbean 5 did not do great. Like, if we look at the franchise as a whole, probably because I misspelled Caribbean.
CAR.
I'm on the numbers. Here we go. Yeah, so Pirates of the Caribbean. What was the 5th one?
Dead Men Tell No Tales.
Yeah, so Dead Men Tell No Tales. It's one of those movies where it did well internationally, but it kind of underperformed in the States.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this was from 5 years ago, so it's not quite fair, but Sonic outdid it in the US. Now, it smoked Sonic by a huge margin worldwide, but that's because of China. And a quick thing to know about any movie that talks about, oh, we made so much money in China, they get 25% of that at the end of the day.
Yeah. Despite what you might think, communists like money.
Oh, communists like owning things. Communists like it when the people in charge get to own things, is how I'll put it.
Yeah. They
want their cut.
Yes, exactly.
So while it looks like China was as big of a market for Pirates of the Caribbean 5 as the United States was, with like roughly 170 million, actually, that's really funny. Like, the U.S. was within like $250,000 of each other.
Wow.
But Disney kept 3 times as much of that money, probably.
Yeah. And I will say, I don't know if you saw that movie.
Nah, yeah, I'll just fully admit, I didn't even really like Pirates 1 all that much. Like, I liked Jack Sparrow, but I didn't like the movie around it.
Oh, okay. It felt like a last movie. This one. I mean, they tied up all the loose ends from the other movies, and the characters all got their happy endings and everything. So it just really didn't need to do another one anyway.
Right. So sorry, Johnny Depp stands. We are not, in fact, due for 3 more Pirates movies. And the fact that it was like more than $100 million a movie in an era where Chapek is in charge, that should have told you that was like a complete fabrication. Because we were just like $100 million in the movie. Like, well, we'll just say, how much extra does the movie have to make that a worthwhile investment? So I won't even be mean and add the advertising this time. Yeah, you got to have like a 160 million plus of extra income just from that actor being in the movie to make that worthwhile.
It's not going to happen.
Which, mind you, I think that in Johnny's case, that could actually be worthwhile compared to that Margot Robbie movie they're kicking around, starring her for Pirates.
Oh, yeah. Haven't heard anything about that lately.
No, I think it's going to be one of many things that got quietly canceled.
Yes.
In the midst of current issues.
Mm-hmm.
I also have this sneaking suspicion that Hollywood has kind of figured out that Margot Robbie isn't actually that much of a box office draw.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Yeah, she's, of course, right now she's making the Barbie movie.
It is it's better than, and everybody I talk to has memory hold this. There was talks at one point of Amy Schumer being a plus-sized Barbie in a movie. Like that like the script was about how maybe it's like, I forget what the details were, like if she was like had gotten a little dumpy over the years, and everyone was like it was like about be who you are, not who you're supposed to be. It's like back when Amy Schumer had something of a career before they realized that Amy Schumer is not a box office draw.
Yeah.
So Margot Robbie is a much better choice.
Yes.
I say like the things like, and I'm not saying anything bad about Margot Robbie. It's just that she is not a major box office draw. There are some people who do good jobs, but they don't put butts in seats.
Yeah.
You don't see the movie for them. You see a movie that they happen to be in that you're interested in.
which I would say is probably about 99% of movie going these days. Is people
Yes.
don't, yeah, the days of movie stars attracting people to the movies has been gone for a while now.
Yeah, the only Tom Cruise, of course, like the last great movie star.
Mhm.
But Chris Pratt is the only one who really comes even kind of close to that.
Yeah, and then of course we all know there have been efforts to make that not be a thing.
Yeah. Well, it's what's the old saying? If you're drawing flack, you're over the target.
Yeah.
So the fact that they feel the need to destroy him means that he's gotten big.
Yes. And people like him.
Yes, he is charismatic.
Yeah.
Also, apparently he wasn't even going to the church everyone was trying to say he was going to. So shut up.
Yes. Yeah.
So and this is part of our ongoing thesis that Hollywood is the good times are over for Hollywood. So you're going to actually probably see more things like you would probably want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is it is funny to me that at the same time, Disney and Warner Brothers Discovery both kind of got their own versions of each other,
Mm-hmm.
of their own CEOs. With Zaslav over at Warner Brothers Discovery being Mr. Pennypinch.
Mm-hmm.
With Warner Brothers wanting to throw movie money around, not quite as bad as Disney. They know that there are numbers besides 200.
Yeah.
But like that Elvis movie that's doing pretty decent, 85 million, which means that its break-even number. I should just keep this open.
Yeah.
Add 50% for marketing. Yeah, that thing's got to make 212 million, which is a big ask for a bio movie about Elvis, no matter how good it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I confess I don't care because I was never much of an Elvis person.
Yeah, I could maybe see watching it on HBO Max at some point, but I'm not going to rush out to watch it.
I mean, to anybody, I'm gonna put this out to anyone if you've seen that movie. If there's a scene where Elvis shoots his TV, I will watch it.
That ain't no good. They fought and fit and fought and fought and fit.
Yeah.
So apparently they had to they couldn't directly say that was Elvis in that Simpsons joke, because if you say it was Elvis, there would be like some copyright or legal concerns. So I think they described him as Southern Man or something like that. Anyhow, so speaking of places where Warner Brothers took its money out and decided to spend it more accurate or more wisely. Now there were also some how to put it. There were also some YouTube where I saw DC kicked out of Comic-Con. Like, no, come on, you're just being inflammatory.
Mm-hmm.
This was a voluntary thing where they actually have a much smaller presence there at San Diego Comic-Con this year than they usually do, because they basically sorry if you're hearing noise, the neighbors are being loud.
No problem.
But they're not advertising their CW shows there this year. They're not doing anything for the comic books. They're basically just focusing on the big movies that are coming out later this year. Which, considering that I think it cost them $25 million to make, or like last year or the last time that there was a Comic-Con, to advertise to 167,000 people who actually showed up. It's kind of like E3, where it's like I think E3 is basically dead because everybody's figured out that the Nintendo Direct technique, where you actually just like have a small event and you stream it for your fans, is much more effective.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would say probably shouldn't call it Comic-Con anymore because it hasn't been about comic books for a time.
Nerdicon,
yeah. Because it's I mean, I will say that this event is on my bucket list to go there, but I don't know. I think like you were saying, I think at this point it's kind of dying off, and I think obviously Warner is probably seeing that because they're not as many people attending.
Yep, and even besides that, comic books aren't necessarily your wisest investment to have a big spot there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember Ethan Van Sciver in some of his streams talk about the lavish things they would do for them back in the day.
Yeah.
Because the comic books were making enough money that it made sense to fly a bunch of people out there and have a big event for, the new Crisis on Infinite Earths or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The whatever, Flash Rebirth or,
Yep.
Green Lantern Rebirth. Yeah. I could see like, him and other, guys back in the day, having a huge DC booth and,
Mm-hmm.
but, with comic books being the way they are. Yeah. And sales are way down and yeah, it's, it's hard to justify that cost.
In fact, let's bring out our friend the calculator here. So let's say the average DC comic costs $5. That seems to be the price point they want to do these days.
Yeah.
The average comic book, the publisher gets about half of the cover price, so $250.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that the booth space at Comic-Con, specifically for the comic books, cost $1 million, which, since the whole thing used to cost them $25 million, is probably lowballing it. But we'll just say that, they have a small comic book booth with a few major names. That piece of it is $1 million. The other 24 was going for movie and TV.
Okay.
By 2.5, your presence at Comic-Con has to sell 400,000 more issues, and this is not counting production costs. Which, considering that the average DC comic is probably selling between 40 and 50,000 if they're lucky.
Yeah.
You got to prove a lot of boost because of your presence there.
Yes. Yeah. And it's and like I said before, Comic-Con is not about comic books anymore. They don't, people don't go there for to buy comic books and stuff. They want to go there to see their favorite celebrity and go into the whatever was it Hall H or whatever that is, the big auditorium there where they plug whatever big movie that's coming up.
Yep, but go see Black Adam. So I have this sneaking suspicion that the movie is going to be a complete fiasco.
I think so too. Yeah. We talked about the trailer when it dropped, and it did not catch my attention.
No. So I think that's going to be Warner's Lightyear for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what's really funny? Everybody's talking about how Minions comes out this weekend. It's going to just completely wash away Lightyear as a family movie.
Mm.
What movie I've not heard anybody talk once about, and that makes me think that it's going to be another big bomb?
What?
Crypto the Superdog. It comes out the 29th of July.
Oh, I forgot about that movie.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that.
I have seen multiple trailers for that at movie theaters and on TV.
Yeah.
I completely forgot it even existed. And that's kind of in my wheelhouse. Is I pay attention to upcoming movies and DC stuff for my own fun, not just for the show.
Yeah.
I completely gone over my head that it was coming out so soon.
Yeah, I think I've seen like a couple of trailers for it. Yeah, it's like very interesting choice to do a movie about Superman's dog.
And to make him mean-spirited and voiced by The Rock. So we'll see if The Rock gets to headline 2 DC bombs this year.
Yeah. Oh. He can't catch a break, can he?
Yeah, he'll go cry on his pile of money surrounded by beautiful women. So,
Yeah,
hey,
yes, he is.
wow! And if you wanted a little person to play in the world's smallest violin as he cried himself to sleep, he could probably keep him on retainer for a while,
Yes.
and pay for the violin lessons so that he could do it.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, it's uh hard times ahead, I would say, for certain movies and certain, studios. Hard choices will have to be made.
Yeah. What's funny to me is that I'm always hearing that. I actually heard a few times that Disney desperately actually doesn't want Warner Brothers superhero efforts to fail because them stinking up the joint only hastens the decline of superhero movies.
Uh, well, I think that's already started.
Yes. So for our last topic, since we're a little bit over, but hey, we're having fun, so it's all good. Some people are calling this a case of get woke, go broke. That may actually be the case. Actually, it's funny because I watched a video by The Quartering about this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I should read it out loud. Friend of mine just as you can see on the screen here, a friend of mine just messaged me. Good show. Crypto will tank like the currency. But Netflix just canceled queer animated comedy series Q Force, which is basically like an action show. I forget. I don't think they were superheroes. I think they were just secret agents like Archer. But all of them were some sort of alphabet person. And what's really funny is that there's a certain type of gay themed comedy or show where you literally wonder, was the person who made this secretly a homophobe who got into a position in Hollywood so that they could vent it? Like they literally have a character named Twink. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you wonder.
Yeah, it's very curious, isn't it? And this movie was like, Quartering was going through and looking at the original trailer, all the comments, like, as a gay person, this trailer has made me come out as straight. Back in the closet for me. This unites the homophobes and the gay community in hating it. Just because it was so stereotypical, and if it wasn't for the fact that we've gotten hit in the past just for showing trailers, I would totally have Daniel inflict this on you. So you got lucky. I saw this when it came out. I was like, oh my God, seriously. But now this is a phenomenon that we've seen a few times where it was panned by critics and got a 29% tomato score on Rotten Tomatoes, but the audience gave it a 78%. And so this is the type of thing where you sometimes go, oh, it must have just been a bunch of bots trying to upvote it because Netflix didn't want it to go under a certain number, right?
Right.
You've heard accusations of that.
Yes.
But let me tie in a different non-get woke, non-get broke theory. So everybody has a type of TV show or movie or book or comic that they love. And that the piece of media being that thing makes them graded on a curve that other things wouldn't. So like, I'm not sure what you would intend to grade on a curve, but like there are people who will grade a Star Wars thing on a curve. Like, oh, I love Star Wars. Like, you watched Kenobi and you were objective with it. There are people who will like go, but it's Ewan McGregor and he's back and I want to like it.
Yeah.
Or it's like, oh, it's an anime and I like anime, so therefore it goes from being a 5 out of 10 to being a 7 out of 10. Like everybody has their biases and things they enjoy.
Yes.
Now, let's say that I'm going to make up something. Let's say you had somebody who really loved movies about guys who piloted helicopters. Like that was their favorite thing. They love movies specifically about helicopters and helicopter pilots. They loved Chopper Dave back in the day, or whatever that. There were some like they're actually no Airwolf. I think it was Airwolf.
Yeah, Airwolf. Yeah.
They loved Airwolf. And so if a movie has a big helicopter scene, they are going to rate it highly. He's like, oh man, this is like one of 2 movies that had a major helicopter scene this year. I don't care that Stallone was phoning it in. I don't care that Stallone was phoning it in. I got my helicopter scene, 10 out of 10.
Yes.
Now, if every movie had a big helicopter scene, then they would probably go. They would start being more objective. Well, I mean, sure, Pride and Prejudice had this helicopter scene tackle on in this remake, but did it really add anything to the movie? No, I'll just grade it on its own merits. Versus, oh man, that Airwolf remake, that had helicopter action to the wall, and it was like a really thoughtful, and it carried on the torch. And there's a new Airwolf who's his son now, and it's great, and it respected the legacy. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I feel like that 78% on this show is the audience who wanted an adult gay-themed comedy, overrating it because what else do they have to scratch that itch?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, because it is a show for a niche audience, and I think that niche audience, they definitely wanted to like the show, and despite that, it was probably deeply flawed.
Everything I've heard about it is like it's like Archer, but not funny and kind of offensive because again, it's like, okay, was this done by somebody trying to celebrate the community or a secret homophobe?
Yeah. Yeah, it's I'm trying to think. The thing about this is like when you make something like if you make something like this that's geared towards a small audience, like you're counting on that small audience for those views, and and if it's a product, for that revenue, and but after a while you can only sustain yourself on that for so long, and then eventually it's just like, okay,
Here's the other thing is that so I've mentioned this story before, but I might get the numbers wrong here. Sony in the 80s bought Columbia Pictures because this is like a classic bad business decision because it cost them billions over the years when they had because they were an electronics company from Japan. What did they know about running an American movie studio? But somebody over there decided that, oh well, our movies are shown on TV screens that we make, so we should have a piece of that action. And thus Sony Pictures was born.
Yes.
One of the executives was having the business of movie making explained to them. So every year you're going to have like 2 or 3 really big bombs, 5 movies will about break even. Then you'll have 1 or 2 really big hits that'll pay for everything else. To which the Japanese executive looked at them thoughtfully and said, "Why not just make 10 hits?" Which is a fair question.
Yeah.
The answer is, of course, you can never predict hits, but it's a reasonable question. It's a type of question that an engineer who is used to making particular models of TVs would ask.
Yes.
So when we talk about, and I think somebody took us to task once about, how can you say that Doctor Strange underperformed? It's not going to make $1 billion most likely unless Disney just leaves it in theaters for 2 months and it just legs out there slowly. It made it made like $400 million in the States. It made more money just in the States than Shang-Chi made internationally or close to it.
Yeah.
They made hundreds of millions. Let's find out here. 200 million. Disney does not know any numbers besides 200 million. A Lightyear spinoff to Toy Story, 200 million. Coming of age story about two kids, about Tom Holland and
Chris Pratt.
and Chris Pratt reuniting with their dad's bottom half, which is what Onward was. 200 million. But yeah, I mean, like, they've made they've long since made it back. Like they've almost doubled their break-even point. So
yes. It's made money. Yeah,
right, lots of money. But remember that you aren't just making money for yourself. You're making money to make up for flops.
Yes.
It is possible that Lightyear will cost them almost all of their Doctor Strange profit, depending on how it goes.
Yes, very likely. Yeah.
Or at least a big chunk of it. So you then have to, and it's actually a weird thing that's kind of funny. Like, Luca didn't come out in theaters. It went straight to Disney Plus. So technically, Lightyear is going to be way more profitable for them. But if Luca had come out in theaters and bombed, it would get the same stink that Lightyear now has on it.
Yes.
It's like financially, it's better off for them, but from like an optics perspective, it's worse. But if everybody was kind of expecting Doctor Strange, us included, to break that billion mark easily. We thought it was going to, the opening weekend, 187 million. It's taken a long time to get to where it is.
Yeah.
Top Gun has long since surpassed it. Everybody thought, oh, it's another multiverse movie. This is going to be, this is clearly going to be another big crowd pleaser. This is going to be like Spider-Verse. Yeah. No, it was. In fact, you notice Scarlet Witch here, center of focus on the cover. Yeah. Doctor Strange is bigger than her, but in the background, like he's looming over her, like he is the villain.
Yeah.
Like, Wanda here is clearly the focus, which nobody wanted.
Yeah, they wanted a sequel to Doctor Strange. They didn't want a sequel to WandaVision.
No. So if they had, let's say this movie had legged out like Top Gun. Technically no reason it couldn't have if it had been a big crowd pleaser. Yeah. Had a stronger starting position. It could have been like a $1.3 billion movie right now. And then we'd be saying, man, too bad about Lightyear, but it totally counteracted it.
Yeah.
And then some.
Yes.
But the thing is, a Q-force is not going to, it's going to draw on a percentage of the population. That's a percentage of the population. Yes. People who are interested in something that's specifically satirizing that community, who want to see an adult animated comedy about it, who also like it being an action focus. You've sliced off big chunks of the audience there. But if you have Netflix, if you have something on the order of Stranger Things coming out to keep people subscribed every few months, then you have money to throw at this. But if your subscribers count is actually going down over time, you now have some hard choices. You no longer have that cushion. So like where Disney might have at one point gone, Lightyear, people were just bigots. We don't like them. Go away.
Yeah.
Double down, baby.
Yeah.
Like if Lightyear had come out the same, actually that's a good example. If Lightyear had come out the same year as Avengers Endgame, it would have been like, oh well, you can't win them all.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just have to cry on our pile of Aladdin and Lion King money.
Yeah.
But this being one of their only big releases for the summer, that's a disaster.
That's crippling.
Yep. So that's part of our ongoing discovery that things have to make money, or at least have to break even well enough to not make studios or make executives have to answer embarrassing questions like, hey, why were you out there antagonizing the audience?
Yeah. Yeah, and especially in this economy, the days of doing stuff like that is going to be short and will probably end because it's one thing to do that in a good economy, and you're not, you can actually pump out some stuff that's, people might not want to go see, but you still put it out and say, oh yeah, we put it out. But now it's like, yeah, you kind of have to justify a little more justify, like, why do we need a Buzz Lightyear movie? Why do we need this?
Or if we need a Buzz Lightyear movie, how do we make something that will actually sell toys?
Yes.
Which is part of what Bob Chapek has been criticized for. He has actually added an extra layer of management to Disney, which is any new project has to be approved by people actually making the merchandise.
Ooh.
Which this article I pulled up before actually takes him to task for. But normally that would be like, I would just go, that's stupid. What's the point of that? But for Disney, as bad as off as they are, that's actually a sensible thing, because you got to be able to explain. I'm going to pretend that, you got to explain why your Q-Force is going to move units. Like, oh, no one wants a Q-Force T-shirt? Then we don't make Q-Force.
Yeah. Yeah, and to quote Spaceballs, merchandising, where the real money from the movie is made.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to what Clownfish TV calls the pivot to profit.
Yes.
And what I would say is that as we close up, expect to see some. Don't expect to see changes right away. We're still going to see a lot more get woke, go broke stuff in the short term, because it's already greenlit. Money's already been invested. Might as well finish it up and get whatever you can out of it.
Yes.
But anything that is good will go broke that fails is going to have a, failure has 1,000 fathers.
Yes.
But don't focus on that so much. Focus more on, okay, like some people might not like that. I don't know, Lightyear has a gay relationship at the focus of it, but if it was a solid movie that made kids happy, people people might talk about it, but it would be like, they put this into this huge successful movie that everybody loves, except for the bigots who don't like that.
Yeah.
Instead of Chris, why did you call them dinosaurs again when we were going to go up against Jurassic Park? I can't believe that he just queued it up so nicely.
Yes, he did.
If he had called them Neanderthals, that would have been just as good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rhino has the last comment. I pray that they keep doing stupid. I mean, it's more entertaining for us to talk about. It's kind of boring Top Gun is probably the most interesting, successful movie to talk about, just because of how weirdly successful it is.
Yes.
But like, if we were doing this show in 2019, it'd be like, everyone went to go see Endgame.
Yes.
To the surprise of nobody.
Oh yeah. What else came out in that same summer? I'm trying to remember.
I don't know, but interesting thing is that 2019 Disney owned like 8 or 9 of the top 10 movies.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
For this year, it's either 1 or 2. So I think we're seeing the revenge of everybody else, or everybody else strikes back.
Yes. All right. Well, I think we've gotten all the show that we can out of this
Yes,
week.
Indeed.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. We appreciate it. Again, hit the like, subscribe button, notification bell, all that
good stuff.
We will see you again next week. Good night,
We're up
everybody.
to 44 subscribers now, so somebody is actually listening.
Oh, yes. Nice. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
The life of a spy isn't as glamorous as I thought. But it isn't dull.